Merry Christmas, everyone. Yep, it's that time of year again. Christmas is always filled with traditions every year. Many of us decorating the house, putting up the tree, and trying to find something special for our friends and loved ones. And for those in the Christian faith, celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ. One of those classic traditions for me is rewatching Christmas movies and episodes. Nearly every long-running franchise has some sort of content made for this time of year, and Thomas is no different. So today, I will be rewatching every Christmas episode and giving my thoughts on them. I will also rank them on our tier list, just for the fun of it. So if you can, grab some hot chocolate and get cozy as we dive in. Now let's see. How many Christmas episodes are there in Thomas? 39? Wow, I'm gonna have to change up the writing formula here. I'm going to go over the episodes from worst to best, categorized by tiers. I won't give a plot summary this time around, as I don't want this video to be really long. Partly in mind of how long you'll watch this, and in the short time I have to put it together. Starting in F tier. These are the absolute worst of the lot, the kinds of episodes I have no intention of rewatching anytime soon. Emily's Winter Party Special. If you've already seen my video on the best and worst nitrogen episodes, you'll know why I hate this one. So I'll be brief. Emily tries to take a reward for a job she hasn't done, along with being a repeat of Top Stuff Thomas. And what if the hat she found of the snowman was given to the children by someone and not the Fat Controller's hat? Next is Tree Trouble. This one follows Thomas being a prick to the Diesels for having the nerve to want a nice Christmas tree. And yet, the Diesels didn't even provoke him. Surprise, surprise. The first half is okay, I guess, as Thomas finds some of his friends broken down and brings them to the Steamworks, and Stanley is relevant for a bit.
Stanley?
But then halfway through, we switch to Thomas trying to find a way to bring a party to the Steamworks without Victor knowing. Charlie is here with his bad jokes, and somehow derails with a bump from Thomas. Like, Thomas has shunted trucks harder than this, and they haven't derailed. In all, if you count him helping Percy, Edward, and Stanley to the works, this is a 5 strikes episode. Thomas's frosty friend. Why is it that these snowman-themed episodes qualify as Christmas-themed? Like, the only reason they're on this list is because they outright say it in the opening.
The winter holiday season is a very busy time on the island of Sodor.
But then there's nothing Christmas-related for the rest of the episode. But yeah, this one's incredibly dumb, as Thomas somehow doesn't notice the giant balloon con on his buffers, and follows the 5 strikes plot. And how does he not notice it's a balloon? Hit Era Percy is smarter than this. The Christmas Tree Express. Not gonna lie, I kinda like Rheneas here, and it's nice to see him co-lead in this one. But it's brought low by how out of character Toby is for being such a coward. Why is he scared of Missy Island all of a sudden? He's been there before, no issue. And the Logging Locals are back. Great. And capping off F tier is Percy the Snowman. Yeah, no, Thomas spraying snow with his plow 3 times to bury Percy is not possible. Maybe up to his tanks, but not anywhere near his cap roof. And why reschedule the party last minute on Christmas no less?
The children cheered and waved. They had never seen a snow engine before.
Nope, we're not doing this, we're not retconning Snow Engine. Moving this to the bottom, we are not sacrificing continuity of a classic Oliver and Toad episode for this trash. D tier. These are the episodes that are still bad, no question, but I wouldn't say they're abysmal. Thomas's Animal Arc. Despite being from Bwaba, I only passively dislike this one. I mean, there's gotta be a better place to keep the animals than a locomotive sheds, and I don't believe 2 elephants are stronger than 1 engine of Thomas's size and strength. Also, I feel it's worth mentioning how the title references Noah's Ark.
The Steamworks is pretty hot, sir.
Quiet, Henry.
Up next is Let It Snow. Another nitrogen episode where Thomas abandons his work to prove something to Gordon. This time he's taking part in one of the Logging Locals' summoning rituals. As usual, Gordon is the only good thing in this Snorfest. Merry Misty Island. It's focused on the Logging Locals not being familiar with the Christmas traditions on Sodor, so they make a mess of everything. But at least they carry the episode without always being in a group. For a short time, Ferdinand goes off alone. I mean, they've had worse episodes, but that doesn't make this one a good one. And now our first Brenner era episode, Missing Christmas Decorations. This one's a really bad one, as it switches halfway through from a Diesel 10 versus Steam team to Percy helping Sydney. Speaking of Diesel 10, man, do they do him dirty. Like, in his 3 movie appearances before this, he was always this maniacal villain who struck fear into the audience. I mean, most of the time. But here, he just whines about the Steamies having more decorations, instead of asking the Fat Controller for some. And I guess the Sydney and Percy plot was alright, but I think it would be better as its own episode. Honestly, the main thing I do like here was Paxton standing up to Diesel 10 and sticking to his kind nature, but a good Paxton episode shouldn't come at the cost of Diesel 10 as a character. Merry Winter Wish. This one's really forgettable and doesn't make any sense. Henry's Lucky Day. Here they went really far in making Henry superstitious and a cowboy all of a sudden.
Oh no, puffed Henry. If I had my lucky trucks, this would never have happened.
And if he can't go up Gordon's Hill on his own, Lucky Trucks won't do anything but hold him back. Nia's bright idea. I know Nia has her fans, but I'm just not one of them. This one just feels like a worse version of Big Freeze from Tugs, and isn't really all that enjoyable for me. And our last E-tier episode is Kangaroo Christmas. This one could have been a really nice one, and the first few minutes gave me hope. This could have taught the audience more about Australia's Christmas traditions, and how they differ from other parts of the world. But nope, it defaulted to chasing a kangaroo with a stuffed animal in its pouch. More than the others, this one's just a real disappointment. On to C-tier. These are the ones I wouldn't say are bad or good, and are just kinda meh. Henry's Magic Box. This one's about Henry being paranoid over a box to keep it safe, and not telling the others to come to the field at tea time, but I can appreciate that he just wanted to make the Fat Controller proud. The Party Surprise. The only episode to feature Colin, aka the hit era's most forgettable character. I really don't feel one way or the other about this episode, it's just mid. Thomas's Tricky Tree. This one has Thomas feel much more like a season 1 character, as a tease from Duncan makes him turn down any help from the narrow gauge engines. Speaking of Duncan, his teasing of Thomas was actually really funny.
I'm looking for a Christmas tree, tooted Thomas. Don't you know what a Christmas tree looks like? Peter Sam, Thomas needs our help. He doesn't know what a Christmas tree looks like.
And I must say, the wharf set in the winter is just visual eye candy all around. But the rest of the episode is just kinda meh. And now we're on to B tier. These are the ones I genuinely like, and they're all solid good ones. Keeping up with James. James wants to pull the presents train and is careless and impatient, so he's paired up with Edward, who's much more careful and reliable. It's not too bad a concept. Also, it's fun to see the Fat Controller and his little buddies trading their usual hats for their beanies and scarves. Salty's Surprise. This one follows Edward trying to find a Christmas present for Salty, but none of the things he tries work for him. But in so doing, he unintentionally gives him exactly what he wanted, a new story. Is it just me who would love to hear Salty's stories? Like if I could go to Sodor, I would just want to sit down and spend an afternoon listening to his tales. Salty, tell us another one do. Don't Tell Thomas. This one's overall just a nice one, as Thomas spends a long time plowing for the others, and since they all know how much he hates doing it, they all want to give him a special surprise to say thank you. But since they aren't very discreet about it, Thomas feels left out and angry. I'd say the characters are pretty on point here, and it does play in that gift-giving feel, especially this bit here.
Percy was bursting to tell his friend about it, but he raced away so that he wouldn't spoil the surprise.
A Cranky Christmas. It's a fun episode and I enjoy it, but I don't really know why. I just like it. It's Only Snow. This one's also quite nostalgic for me, and I really enjoyed it. This part here was particularly funny when I was younger.
The fitters, his driver, and firemen all helped with Thomas's snowplow. We'll have to try that again, laughed his driver.
I also like how the lack of snowplows is both an issue and reward in the end.
As you know, there are no spare snowplows, so you'll just have to do without yours for a while. Oh, thank you, sir.
Yeah, this one's just a solid good one. Not too much to say here. Thomas and the Toy Workshop. This is one of our few Henry and Thomas episodes, and they're both pretty good in it. Henry's much more of a kind giant like we see in season 3, and Thomas overestimating his own strength would come back again and dream on. Thomas and Henry don't pair up too much, so it's nice to see their dynamic. I also like how Annie and Clarabelle are portrayed here, as they just follow behind Thomas singing, very much like the books would have it. Speaking of, the Railway Series picture in the shop is a great Easter egg for eagle-eyed viewers. I also have some nostalgia for this one, as this is one of the DVDs I rewatched all the time as a kid. Diesel's Ghostly Christmas. This is our first 2-part episode since, season 4. It's a Thomas retelling of A Christmas Carol, and it does it alright. I actually haven't watched this one up until now, and it could have been a nice jumping off point to reform Diesel. And it doesn't hurt that we get a recreation of a scene from Diesel Does It Again in season 3, though I think the characters who play the ghost in this one could have been chosen better. Overall, a fun watch. Long Lost Friend. It's really nice to see the return of a fan favorite character, that being Gator. Admiral, does use the 3 strikes formula, it's still contributing to the plot in a good way. And rather than going all over Sodor for no reason, it's due to the papers for Gator's delivery being smudged up. Again, this one's real nice, but I can't explain why. On to the A tier. These are all straight up bangers, nothing less than great episodes. and no Christmas rewatch would be complete without them. Hunt the Truck. This one really surprised me by how much I enjoyed it. I love how Edward is characterized here. Like, instead of just telling off Bill and Ben like he has before, he knows that they need to realize what an impact their little game has. And as we the audience can see, he's really enjoying this. I think this is the only time we've seen this side of his character, and it's a welcome addition. Bill and Ben are also great here, still up to their old tricks and quick to blame each other when things go wrong. I also think that the fantasy sequence here was used well. No stupid trains in space or turning into whatever Mattel wants to sell. No, it's used to show the worst case scenario they can think of. Now, I haven't watched all of Wubba yet, but from what I have seen, this is my favorite episode. And of course, we have Michael White to thank for it. Mad respect to this man for giving us some good episodes, even in this era. The Perfect Gift. I like that this one shows that not everyone celebrates the holiday the same way. It also plays a lot more into the season than the other Christmas episodes, and plenty of references to boot. Yeah, I see you, Charlie Brown Christmas Tree. This might be one of the most Christmassy episodes of the lot. Thomas and Percy's Christmas Adventure. This one's a lot of fun, and I like how much it focuses on the Farquhar branch gang. Not just Thomas, Percy, and Toby, but even Harold and Terrence get in on the action to help the village. And in return, the villagers show their gratitude by decorating the shed. This is a real nice, feel-good episode. But if you're gonna watch this one, stick to the UK dub. The US dub for some reason changed it to a Thanksgiving episode, even though Sodor has no connection to the holiday. And of course, there's a notorious audio delay as well. Not So Hasty Puddings. What I especially like about this one is the dynamic we see with Thomas and Elizabeth. These two had a really fun rivalry set up in season 6, and it's brought to full circle and set to rest here. They just keep going at each other until she ends up in need of his help. But instead of falling off the show after this, they gave her a new dynamic with Emily in the hit era. Like now that Thomas is off the table, she needs some fresh meat, someone new to tear into. And it's not just in Emily's adventure, but in other smaller cameos as well.
Where's this new engine? He got lost. No, I didn't! Whistled Whiff cheerfully. Hello! Oh, aren't you going to introduce me to your new friend?
Though I will say that the use of stock footage in this episode doesn't do it any favors, as we see Henry in his old shape, and is seen from It's Only Snow. But yeah, this is a really underrated episode in my opinion. Not many people talk about it. And now, we finally reach the coveted S tier. Every episode here is fantastic. The piece de resistance, the creme de la creme, Starting us off with Terrence Breaks the Ice. This acts as a follow-up to Terrence's introduction in season 1, and has a lot going for it. I like how rather than just one singular tree, Thomas has a full train of trees to be sold at market. Plus, I like the little imagery the Fat Controller has of the Earl, and I like how the tables are turned in Thomas and Terrence's dynamic, as he's now the one with the big ego, and Thomas has to help him. I also really like this accident. As good as the Brenner era was, it never really treated crashes seriously, but here the tension is high, and if they don't act quick, Terrence will sink into the pond and quite possibly die. It harkens back to episodes like Toby and the Flood here. And of course, the CGI recreation of the original scene was a real treat. I love this one. Next is a tie between the Christmas Coffee Pot and Over the Hill. This one's more of a two-parter, like Grandpuff and Sleeping Beauty was. First, there's Glenn being rediscovered and restored. This has some nice classic series elements, like the engine's warning he'll be scrapped, so they rescue him in secret, only to find the Fat Controller is on board with it. Speaking of, we learn Topham is actually the one who built Glenn.
You look as splendid as the day I built you.
In reality, it was his grandfather, Sir Topham Hatt I, who actually built him, but since the TV series only has one Fat Controller, it makes sense. Some people might gripe that Thomas loses his development from Hero the Rails here, but I disagree. Hero turned out to be a famous engine, the master of the railway, whereas Glenn was an out-of-date, abandoned engine. Thomas took over his work, so from the engine's perspective, what place is there for Glenn on the railway? This is followed up by Over the Hill, where Stephen feels threatened by Glenn's arrival and challenges it to a race, and...
Right then, let's see if you can keep up with me!
Well, now I've seen everything. Eye of the freaking tiger in a Thomas episode. And halfway through, these two just make friends and complaining about the world and completely forget that they're racing.
Of course, people take railways for granted these days.
They don't realise how much rail travel has opened up the world.
Yeah, that's valid. In today's world, people are quick to use other forms of travel, without realizing all the blood, sweat, and tears that went into building our railways. Stephen and Glenn are a great duo here. I love it. Santa's Little Engine. This is a fun one, and a Fat Controller episode. I like how much he tries to help the Earl, while still avoiding driving a sleigh, and it makes sense considering his driving record. And well, yeah, it is a bit unrealistic in the runaway bit. It's not a big problem. This one's just fun and comedic. I love it. Though it would have been funny if it was James instead of Thomas. We could have had a fun callback to season 3.
Then we could call you James the Red-Nosed Engine.
Daisy's Perfect Christmas. I never thought I'd say this, but I really relate to Daisy in this one. Christmas is a time of tradition, so when said tradition is broken, it can really sting. But at the end of the day, what matters is that we are here with our friends and family to celebrate together. And sometimes new additions to the tradition can be good.
Maybe it wasn't better or worse than usual, just different. After all, a few Christmases ago we didn't share a shed, and now we do.
I also like that we are told she doesn't like snow, probably as a Railway series callback. Thomas's Christmas Party. Oh, this is a nice one. The grandfather of all Thomas Christmas episodes, the one that started the whole thing. Let's pause for a moment of respect, shall we? Okay, that's enough. Yes, this one's a classic, and overall a great finale to the first season. Though some do wish Paint Pot and Queens was the finale, I'm happy with the way it is. And Sir Thomas standing on a stack of Legos is fun. But this one did kind of confuse me as a kid, as we have a flashback to when Mrs. Kindly saved Thomas. For the longest time, I thought I missed the TV adaptation of the story, even though I already had the book. But yeah, who could forget this one? Real nice one right here. And capping off A tier is Thomas and the Missing Christmas Tree. This one's also a great finale, helped by the nice model work and the seasonal covers of both Thomas and the twins themes. Though this shot here always freaked me out as a kid until Thomas blew the snow off. And that final shot of all the engines from the season brought together is really nice. In fact, I think Daisy's the only one missing here, because her prop shared parts with Boko's prop. But I did just notice that this whole time, James is just hiding behind Thomas. Again, really nice one here. Last Train for Christmas. Now I know a lot of you probably expecting me to put this as the best one, as anyone who's watched this era will love this one. But these other ones do something special that I think earns them their spot above this one. Anyways, yeah, this is a great one. All the engines coming together to help make sure the last train gets to Sodor. I like that we see the slip coaches in mainline use like they were built for, and that Connor doesn't get them all right the first try. And rather than Diesel being rude, he's only being realistic when he says the last train needs to be cancelled. We also have this bit where good old hero saves the day, clearing the line that Emily can't. And the music here, man, it slaps. No wonder everyone loves this one. It's one of those episodes you think is overrated, but when you watch it, you know it deserves every piece of praise it gets. Letters to Santa. This one is a Percy and Harold episode, and a good one at that. In previous episodes, Percy says that Christmas is a time of goodwill to all. Now he has to listen to his own advice and show that festive spirit to a longtime rival. And the flashbacks to their first story is actually more accurate than the classic episodes, as the shots are framed just like the original book's pictures. What I really love here is the balance. It hits the marks between a good character building story and plays the elements of a Christmas episode. I also like that we see more about the postal system and, wait a minute, is that Jeremy? Wow, what a random character to reference, right? And my favorite Christmas episode is Duncan the Humbug. This is one I could do an entire video on, and maybe I'll do that in future. First off, it's an air gauge focused episode, and as the title suggests, it's about Duncan. His constant grumbling downs the spirits of the other engines. So in order to get a new coat of paint, Mr. Percival says he has to be on good behavior all day. I love how hard it is for him to keep a cool head when the others are around.
What a lovely song, Duncan.
Isn't it?
And when he does snap, he realizes that he hurts Luke's feelings and helps him out. But the thing is, he didn't do it to try to salvage his chance of getting a new paint. He did it purely to cheer up Luke, and even apologizes to Mr. Percival. But through a genuine act of goodwill, rather than a fake smile, he's rewarded with new paint. I especially like this message, as people often pretend to be nice and kind, if there's something in it for them.
I'm a real Santa, I give me lots of presents.
Well, I'm not sure that's how it works.
A true act of goodwill speaks much louder than a forced smile. And out of nowhere, we get this amazing sunrise shot. Beautiful.
Very pretty.
And there it is, my completed Christmas tier list. What can we conclude from this? Well, for me, the nitrogen episodes are mostly poor, hate is more mid, the classics are great, and the Brenner era are the best. Sure, they had one slip up, but they really knew what they were doing here. But hey, that's just what I think. What are your thoughts? Do you disagree? And what's your favorite Christmas episode of Thomas? This was a fun video to make, and I hope next year we'll have plenty more in store. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas and good night.